I think we can start now. So you're warmly welcome to this workshop, which is also a side event of the World Circular Economy Forum 2023. This workshop is titled Circular Economy Water Solution for Africa. So we all know how important and very pivotal the question of water has become or is, as water is a cross-cutting resource that intervenes in almost all sectors and in our daily life activities. And also water is a resource that is very much important and also define the very existence of humans. So my name is Jocelyn Landritona. My background is in natural resource and environmental management. So I'm a circular economy specialist and with 9 years of experience working as a consultant in environmental management, natural resource, climate finance, biodiversity, and I am also a fellow of the School of Transnational Governance in a program for mid-career policy professionals. And I also sit on the executive team of the African Circular Economy Network. It's all my pleasure to welcome you here today for this workshop. So as you may know or not know, depending on how familiar you are with the African Circular Economy Network. The African Circular Economy Network is the premier network of circular economy practitioners in Africa. And we have members today in over 40 African countries. We work together with all stakeholders, government stakeholder, private sector, civil society, and to make sure that the transition to circular economy is just and inclusive, and also promote a regenerative economy for Africa, and also make sure that Africa is not left behind in the global transition to a circular economy. So you can all join the African Circular Economy Network by logging into our website, where you can apply for membership in order to join this pool of circular economy practitioners to share, learn, and network in the circular economy space. So today we are addressing the pivotal question of water, how circular economy can help solve water issues in Africa. In some parts of the continent, we have abundance of resources, but we still have populations that do not have access to water, which is due to the backlog in infrastructure and equipment. How can circular economy help to bridge this gap and also make sure that everyone has access to water wherever he is on the continent? In some other parts of the continent, due to climate change and other hazard, we also have scarcity in water resources. How do we make sure that these parts of the continent that suffer scarcity in water resources, how do we ensure that the little resource that is available in this part are well managed in order to make sure that all sectors can have equal access to water resources, but still that humans to have not only access to water resources, but to save potable water resources. So today we have a panel discussion with 5 brilliant panelists coming from all parts of the continent. And we're also going to share some practical case study just to show you what some brilliant entrepreneurs on the continent are doing in order to bridge the gap. I are using circular economy as a tool to bridge the gap for access to water on the continent. So I'll hand over to Radia. Radia is the network coordinator of the African Circular Economy Network. She has been working with us for a couple of years. I mean, she'll be rounding her second year very soon. So Radia is also a brilliant social entrepreneur, and I will hand over to her and she will introduce herself and the rest of the panelists. Stay tuned, stay to the end. Make sure you can ask your question in the chat, engage, network. Thank you. See you at the end.
Thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you, Jocelyn, for that warm welcome and that introduction. and good afternoon to everyone that's joining us. As always, it's lovely to see everybody online. As Jocelyn has already introduced me, I am the network coordinator for the African Circular Economy Network with a background in human-centered design and research, project coordination, social entrepreneurship, and environmental sustainability. And I will be your moderator for today, taking us through this program that we have put together. Just before we dive into the program, Jocelyn had already mentioned that we'll have panel discussions, but I will share with you the detailed program. So shortly after this, we will go into our case study introductions and our case studies, so that we listen to 2 practical examples of what's actually happening on the ground in terms of water scarcity and water sustainability. And then after the 2 case studies, we will go into our panel introduction and panel discussion that should then lead us into a Q&A. So if you do have questions for the case studies, or if you do have questions for the panelists, as we go along, please save those questions. We'll have time between 15:20 and 15:35 Central African time for Q&A. Thereafter, we'll open up the discussion. If there are people within the audience that would like to either interact with the panelists, interact with each other, or there are thoughts that you would like to share, we will have time for that as well. And shortly after that, just before we end, there will be a survey that will be shared with everyone that you would need to fill in. So without wasting much of your time, let's go straight into our case study. As Jocelyn, I think, has already given a very good background of the water scarcity problem, not only in Africa, but in the world. And as we have all gathered, or why we're all here, is because we'd like to know what are the practical solutions, what are the actual problems, and what are the practical solutions, and who is doing what on the ground within Africa. So to start us off, I would like to welcome Odak Onyango from Webo Maji Safi Solutions. He'll be our case study. Webo Maji Safi Solutions holistically approaches the drinking water challenge through connecting water, soil, and people. I will leave the rest of the introduction to Webo. Welcome, Odak, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Radha, for this opportunity. In fact, I'm really enlightened to be part of this. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, we can.
Right, great. So I'm straight away I know I have not so much time but I'll try to use within the limit. So the first thing I'll do right now is to share my screen, if it's possible. I think it's coming a little bit, so we have to be a little bit patient. Yes, my name is, let me say once more, hello everybody. My name is Odak Onyango, co-founder and CEO of Webo Maji Safi, born and raised in Kenya. I've witnessed the impact of deforestation and poor farming practices resulting into soil erosion, causing droughts and floods, exacerbated by climate change. I've also experienced the positive impact of my health by drinking high quality water. This has contributed for me to co-found Webo Maji Safi Solution with the aim to make positive social and ecological impact. We already know the climate change has impacted the most vulnerable people in our communities, children under the age of 5 years old dying because of loud, dirty water, girls dropping out of school. And I just don't want to add a lot of sand to Sahara or Kalahari Desert. So I'll straight away go into the problem. The real problem here that you can see, for me, we've just narrowed it as Wabo Maji Safi into access, payment, and quality. What I see when I talk about access, quality, and payment are three important challenges in the provision of clean and safe drinking water and the other basic utilities to low-income populations. In most cases, when water is accessible, it's not necessarily affordable, especially for low-income communities. And the dilemma comes in, how do you pay for this water? And like that, people end up drinking really, let's say, surface water, which are full of, 80% of diseases are waterborne related, and we all know about that. So what did we come to? End-to-end solution. That's how Wabo Maji Safi has been approaching it. What we do is we have developed a distribution point with the digital water management system, which is also decentralized and also open 24/7. And this offers three quality types of water. And in this way, whenever you offer quality, whenever you offer distribution and good management, you also offer governance. And I will elaborate this further as we go on. So this is our product, which is like our product, the M-Safi Water ATM. The end user chooses their water quality, number of liters, and pays accordingly, and directly with M-Pesa, which is a Kenyan thing, which is a mobile money payment. So you can even use an old Nokia payment. So we don't use token. So the user uses directly by pressing the button. And here you get three types of water. You get purified water, filtered water, and raw water, which filtered water you can use for cooking, washing, and mineral water, which is basically for drinking, and the raw water, which you can use for flushing the toilet. Why would somebody in Johannesburg or Cape Town use really dirty water or clean or drinking water to flush toilet? Maybe that's the reason why, to an extent, we don't have so much water. But this is something that, and also a real-time dashboard where you can really see how much you use, what you use, and your expense per day. So the process, this is how really normally what we do is, basically we recycle, the climate change has really changed enormously because when it rains, it really pours. So some of the interventions that we do is actually water storage. So whether we use the dams or we use water-rich roof catchment, and then, so when we have collected this water, which offers the security, we treat it, and then our hardware comes in where we have developed the Maji Safi, and then we use the enabler, which is an M-Pesa, like I said, and then we distribute it using our water ATM, which I explained much more earlier. Value proposition. With the M-Safi, we have a lot of advantages because this one is not like a token-driven. Token for us is actually a solution looking for a problem. So what we do here, this offers a lot of independence, even for my aunt and my sisters. And then when we integrate, what we do with water, when people buy water, they don't buy water. We are banking. Basically, when you pay for this water, at the end of the month or at the end of the year, we all collect this money and we do some really amazing project with it. So it's about, we're not really selling water, we're actually banking on that water. We sometimes help us because sometimes really in our essence, people really sometimes exchange sex for water, which is really horrible. And with this kind of, we don't even talk about plastic. When people become proud, we use we're going back to the pots and the calabashes, and we're very proud. So I can talk about that much more, but we'll come back to that. So what we look at, we don't look at water per se, we look at the whole resource management, the whole water resource management. So we're looking for, at the point of reforestation, regenerative agriculture, to really see how can we sustain this, how can we reuse the value, give water value to our water, but also to the environment, which actually sustain this water. At the same time, we're talking about refill. We're not really busy with most of the time, people sell water. This gets expensive, mostly they sell bottle, but not really water. So the idea of refill for us is a very important part, because then we're busy with refill, no landfill. But some of the ways of which storage fish like that, this water spreads down. So that in itself causes security. And of course, my background is creativity. So we use all, whether it's the impressions to really create the idea of, plastic pollution is one of the monies which is really affecting our communities around Homa Bay, where I come from. And one of the ways we're also trying to save Lake Victoria, not just water, but the totality. Our business model, because most of the time people don't want to invest on water because they're saying, but then you don't have good revenue, but we cannot really prove your revenue. So we do really have a model which is like B2B2C, where actually we offer installation services and then to a client or NGO or school or hospital. And then when the end user pays, so some goes to us, some goes to them at an X amount. So that's actually our business model. And so far we have done almost 18 of these water projects, and it's moving on. We cannot complain. And also we got another 51 coming along the way. So mostly we are from Homa Bay County, which is in Kenya. So we just have our starting point, but we think like with this model really going on, we see opportunity in the whole of Republic of Kenya and maybe in Africa and sometimes some emerging markets. So we're also looking at the business model because that is one of the biggest sustainability when you talk about circular economy. Of course, one of the best things is also when you partner with a lot of things, because you can, with a lot of people, organization, you can never do this thing alone. So these are some of our partners. And yeah, this is our team. I mean, these are made of engineers, environmentalists, business people, and myself, like from creative arts. And so I do a lot of sales, and that's who we are. So we're just a family, and we're working together. Yeah, thank you. I had a very short time, but I hope this was this should be just fine.
Yes, thank you. That was very insightful. I'm very happy to see how you incorporated innovation and technology also, but made sure that the technology is inclusive to all the different stakeholders of the value chain within this system. I would like to, I'm sure there are a lot of questions for Odek, and please feel free to post them in the chat. We'll have time for him to tackle the different questions. I will move on very quickly to our next case study. Our next case study is Lou Afrique, and presenting the case study is Rory Mpete. Rory is the founder and the CEO and an alumni of the University of Joburg and Research Commission of South Africa. Lou Afrique itself is a manufacturer of innovative water and sanitation technology products with the aim to achieve a few principles that I think Rory will be at liberty to share with us. So welcome, Rory. We're very happy to have you. I will now hand over the floor to you.
Sorry, I need to stop.
Yes, thank you, Nadia. Thanks, Odek, for your sharing.
I got to see where the stop button is.
Ah, okay.
No.
If you try to go, is it up?
Yes, the share, but I don't see stop editing present. Oh, this is really bad of me.
No problem. Technology tends to be like this sometimes.
Yes.
So we are
Not able. Sorry, I lost.
Webinar on technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tips. One second.
Thanks for the intro and Jambo Africa. Bonjour à tous. Dumelang kaofela. That's as far as I will go, but I'm trying to encompass everyone. For us, it started in the village of Dipompong and Northwest in my grandmother's bathroom, where we found that the basin isn't working. And that's the picture on the left. So as we were using the bathroom continuously, we had to wash our hands outside. And after some time, this gets a bit tedious. And one thing I knew was that the toilet flushes with fresh water. So throughout the day and the days, we started to wash our hands inside the system. At the end of the day, the discovery was that if we could do this the whole day, be hygienic from toilet water in a system, it means the world can save water. And mind you, this was during the Day Zero campaign in Cape Town. So from that point on, we said that people associate toilet water with dirty water. So for them to use this technology, they have to associate with something that is clean and user-friendly. And we discovered that we need to do a basin. And that was the flagship of our program, of our products, actually. We did what we call the Lou Cap, where we flipped the toilet lid and turned it into a basin. From here on, I can say that's where the discovery of Lou Afrique came in. I'm Rory Mpete from Lou Afrique. We're a manufacturer of innovative water and sanitation solutions. We specialize in sectors of manufacturing, research and development, with the backing from Water Research Commission of South Africa, Innovation Hub, and under the programs of WIDA and SASTAP. We also offer portable rental solutions in the water and sanitation sector. The discovery from that experience in my grandmother's bathroom led on to us to search what is happening with sanitation in public spaces. because if we could save this water in one day in a grandmother's bathroom, what is happening out there? And what we found was pictures, if I'll take it from the left to the right, what you look on the left-hand side seems to be a normal toilet cubicle that you think is normal, it's fine. According to you and according to most of us, that's what we consider to be normal. In public toilet spaces across South Africa, that being in schools, hospitals, clinics, we find the picture towards the right going far right. Toilets are vandalized, taps and pipes are stolen, and places where they're able to replace the toilets and the taps and the basins, those units end up being stolen because public space toilets have become almost like a second-hand hardware material store for informal settlements. This is a big problem where principals and managers for these ablution facilities end up having to continuously put in money to replace these components, where in the end, they just leave them. As they leave them, it causes an issue of absenteeism in the kids not attending school, and equally, as we know, lack of hygiene will cause health issues. Our solution was simple and quite basic. We have an issue of vandalism, meaning that whatever that we do, we have to manufacture in plastic. Our view on plastic is we currently use a material of LDPE, with aspiring to go into a fully recycled plastic using recycled plastic product in the near future. If we develop this solution, we have to take into consideration the usage of water. How is it that we can save water? There was a campaign a couple of years ago that said, drop a block in a toilet. A toilet normally flushes with 6 liters of water. The drop a block campaign would displace 2 liters of water, making that toilet to flush with 4 liters. We said we can push it. Let our toilet flush with 3 liters of water, which it does. We went on to say that what is the issue between a person using the toilet and washing their hands? And we know this in the male community. You can argue it, but we all know majority of men don't wash their hands after urinating. With our solution, the minute you flush the toilet, the minute you flush the urine, you are allowed to wash your hands. You are prompt to wash your hands. Water comes out automatically, pushing you to wash your hands in that sense. So we've turned what is considered to be a normal toilet into a 3-in-1 toilet facility, allowing the user to use, flush, and wash their hands. Our products not only answer those issues, but they are locally manufactured. They are sustainable. They're manufactured in sustainable material, recyclable material, which is plastic. Again, answering the circular element of the economy to say at the end of the lifespan of these units, we will be able to recycle them. Again, manufacturing the toilet units in recycled material initially will prove this product to be a highly successful and highly sustainable product. The units are validated with their findings through the Water Research Commission, through the WADA and SUSTEP program. They're user-friendly and retrofit. They eliminate theft and vandalism, as with LDPE material, any breakages, which there are none of, the memory is flexible and returns back to its original form and shape. On top of that, we reduce the plumbing and the fitting cost, whereby in one cubicle where you will need to have a toilet and a basin opposite the toilet, in a cubicle, we give you a toilet and a basin, eliminating the plumbing cost, the taps, the fitting, and the piping for installation on the other side. Our units not only save you money, but they equally save you space. For people in the construction side, space is money. So where you have to design a new building with toilets on the left-hand side and basins on the right-hand side, with our solution, you simply design toilets on the left-hand side that come fitted with a Lou Afrique toilet, giving you a toilet and a basin in one section, and that space can be used for other elements in a public space or even a shopping mall. We're asking you guys to adapt to the new norm, and we are the people to do that. Where you see a toilet, as I'm explaining, we see a circular economy. One innovation, one toilet, one grandmother, one Lou Afrique has yielded job opportunities in the plumbing sector, has yielded job opportunities in research and development, has yielded job opportunities in user education and campaign management. Not only that, but we have managed to install these units that impact up to 5,000 kids daily, using our units for the past 4 or 5 years. The units are received in the city of Tshwane in 5 schools where we have been installed them to impact over 5,000 kids on a daily basis. We are a proud supplier to one of the contractors on the SAFE program in eradicating pit latrines in South Africa. Looking at an aspect of 3,005 schools, we've currently supplied over 1,000 units towards the program to help eradicate pit latrine toilets and increase hygiene and incorporate grey water usage in everyday living and equally saving water. Our units also offer potential to be rolled out in over 25,000 schools within the country, and that's what we are working on at this stage. Since inception in 2018, we have joined and raised funds through competition entries and research and development of the 2 units. And since 2020, actually, that's when we saw the impact of innovation, to say that we need not innovate when a crisis hits. We need to innovate and prepare for the crisis and combat the crisis. In the 2020 pandemic, we saw how important our units and solutions are when hand washing really became life-saving, and we were ready. And that's when we could be aligned with the governments, we could be aligned with the private clientele that are interested in saving water, in improving hygiene, and equally incorporating grey water usage in everyday living. We're currently on a quest to scale up Luafric, targeting to produce over 100,000 units per annum with our factory facility. And we are looking for partners that can help us to get that to that landmark or milestone. At this stage, we are combating on a pilot project with Ricket Global and Ricket South Africa, the Unit Social Business under the Fight for Access program, to really produce toilet units that are made from recycled material. Once we answer this call, we will be a fully fledged, sustainable toilet, the first of its kind in the world, made in Mabopane, made in Africa, supported by you. The program aims to install these recycled units in 2 schools. We plan to manufacture over 100 units from recycled material. This will impact over 2,500 kids in giving them access to a toilet, giving them access to a hand wash basin, and equally saving per school over 100,000 liters per annum. This will change behavior of hand washing in 9 out of 10 kids and equally save up to 12 square meters in that toilet cubicle in a school. Most importantly, because our units are manufactured in plastic, we're able to manufacture in color, in the school colors, or in any form that is applicable. This eliminates vandalism and theft, as the kids associate with color. They take care of the units as is their school colors, and we pride ourselves in that. We did not get here alone, and we've been supported by these organizations that I've highlighted. We are currently in support of the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program. We are part of the FFA alumni group. We are endorsed by the Nelson Mandela Foundation. We have memorandums of agreement with the Department of Basic Education to give us more schools as we target to get more people that can help us to install these units to save lives, to save water, and to improve hygiene in everyday living. We've been privileged enough in our quest to answer these UN Sustainable Developmental Goals and continue to answer them now on a mass community scale, where we are now a fully fledged commercial product in stores across South Africa and Africa through the Mica brand, the Mica hardware brand. We are a small company destined for Africa. We hope that goal number 17 of the UN Sustainable Goals will be met on such a platform as we continue to seek partnerships to help us propel forward, save water, improve hygiene, and save a kid's life. I thank you.
Thank you very, very much for thank you very much for the wonderful work you're doing. I've already seen a lot of questions for you in the chat, and a few questions myself for you as an entrepreneur and measuring impact in such a space. And this, I think, these two case studies and our last presentation actually helps us segue nicely into our panel discussion. And a lot of the questions I think that people are asking in the chat or that people are thinking about will be answered by our team of experts that I'm now about to introduce. So in no particular order, I'll start introducing our panelists. The first panelist I'd like to introduce is Dr. Adenike. Dr. Adenike is a Vanguard Fellow at the University of Birmingham and a Senior Research Fellow at Afe Babalola University and the founder of the Green Institute. I'd like to welcome Dr. Adenike and not introduce her for her and let her share about herself and her work. Welcome, Dr. Adenike, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Radia. I think you've pretty much summarized my professional profile. So what we do at the Green Institute is we are building the next generation of sustainability leaders through education, through advocacy, and innovation. But for this, the workshop that we have today, one of the things that we do is we work in coastal regions in West Africa, specifically in Nigeria. Some of the coastal regions are affected by the effects of climate change and sea level rises and flooding, which has done a lot of, especially is affecting women and children in terms of water scarcity, in terms of waterborne diseases. So we've been doing a lot of research actively in those regions, and we've been able to publish a lot of papers, a lot of publications just from our findings and how water is affecting them in those regions. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us. I'm sure we will get a little bit into what you do as the panel discussion goes along. I would like to introduce our next panelist. Our next panelist is Romo Kiswenzisa. He is passionate about the circular economy and circular business development and aims to put innovation at the service of sustainable development for communities. He's also a leader of change and specialist in commitment and accelerator of the SDG 6, 11, 12, and 13. I will stop there lest I also summarize his introduction. Welcome, Romad, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for this presentation. It is a pleasure to participate to this workshop that we learned about water that is the principal resources of life, because water is life. I'm from Burkina Faso. I'm the founder of Burkina Bay Network for Circular Economy. That is an official network of youth in Burkina Faso that promotes sustainable development towards circular economy. For the creation of more opportunities for projects led by young people, for awareness, for capacity building on climate change in the issue of water. Thank you.
Thank you. We are happy to have you. Next on our panel discussion is Ms. Ewube Egbe. She's an African Union alumni from the Pan-African University Institute of Water and Energy Sciences, including Climate Change, University of Tlemcen. I would like to, if she is online, I would like to ask her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I have a lot of background noise, but I believe you can hear me. So briefly, I am Ewube Kelilo Egbe. I'm from Powers, University of Tlemcen. So I'm a water policy analyst, and I'm happy to be in your midst. I'm representing WASECA, which is Women for Sustainable Energy and Climate Action in Central Africa. So today, I'm very delighted to be with other water experts so that together we can circulate the circular economy of water and make it available for all. Thank you very much. We keep in touch.
Thank you very much. Despite the background noise, which we couldn't really hear, we're happy to have you. Next on the panel is Mr. Perkins Martin Omondi from the African Circular Business Alliance. He's a country representative of Kenya. Mr. Perkins, if you are in our midst, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad and excited to be part of this forum because it's out for the betterment of the community and even the well-being of the global society. I'm coming in as a representative and representing ACBA, that is Africa Circular Business Alliance. I'm their country representative in Kenya. And ACBA mostly we come out to identify and single out those individuals and even organizations or entities that are focused in enhancing circular economy in various aspects and in various sectors. Now, when we gather them or when we identify, we see a way of how we can actually back each other so that we can increase the sustainability when it comes to the resources that we have and to make the world around us a better place. I think that is all for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We look forward to all the insights you share later in the program. Our next panelist is Mr. Henry Otieno. He is a serial social entrepreneur passionate about helping marginalized communities to create solutions to challenges in their communities. And one of these issues obviously is water scarcity. He is the founder and CEO of Tusafishe and the co-founder of the Women Ecovacity in Uganda. Mr. Henry, if you're with us, I invite you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Radia, and I am with us. Like Radia said, my name is Henry Otieno. I am the CEO and founder of Tusafishe. Tusafishe installs water purification systems for marginalized communities. We focus mainly on refugee camps and rural schools. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much for the brief introduction. We have already been introduced to our case studies, and they will be making some of our panelists. And also, again, if you have any questions for the panelists as we go along, please feel free to post them in the chat. I think I would like to start our discussion with Perkins. Given your background and from your perspective, I'd like to find out from you who is affected, based on your work, who is the most affected by this issue that we have been speaking about since we started this program? Which are the people that you've identified are affected the most by water scarcity? But also in that same vein, while you talk about who is affected, what also can be done to address this challenge that makes sure that these people that are affected, every player in the value chain is not left behind?
Thank you. When we talk about water scarcity, even water crisis at large, actually the whole world is affected, but there are those particular segments within us that are mostly vulnerable. And here, one of them are children. And when we talk of children, they suffer in a number of ways in that water scarcity mostly tend to lay the burden on them. And in this case, you will find that children, their survival is actually jeopardized following water-related diseases. Then they have poor health following poor sanitation and unsafe water. Then children also tend to suffer from nutritional challenges due to food insecurity. And when we talk of food insecurity, then actually we are talking about water. When there is no water, then definitely even food will be very scarce. Then you have reduced opportunities to attend schools and even to educate themselves. Now that water is a scarce commodity, you will find that children, their education will be compromised. And even for girls, most of them will not go to school, especially during their menses, because it's not comfortable. Yeah. Then families, as they search for water, or they move from one place to another, then definitely it means that children will go with them. You won't leave children behind as you go to search for water. So they don't have that time to continue with their education. Then lastly, about children, their protection is compromised. And this, we are talking about their safety and even security. When they go fetch water, because mostly they are the ones who are sent to go and fetch water. Now, when they go out to fetch water, which most of the time, they cover long distance. Yeah. Now, on their way to fetch water, the places that they go or they pass, most of them are actually very volatile when it comes to violence, and they put their lives in danger and even at risk. Then we also have women. Women are also affected. And when we talk of women, when it comes to water crisis is actually a personal thing to women. In that their time, their safety, and even their health is affected, and is affected very negatively. Their response to finding water for their family is actually something that they take at heart because they value their families, and with the urge to provide and even secure safe water and drinking water for the family for consumption, then they find themselves being exposed outside. So that is one area that they are actually affected. Then they also stand in the line and wait for water for quite a long time. The places that they source water from, you will find that different people are coming from different areas. Now you have to queue. Your time will definitely be wasted. Then they walk the long distances, and I've just mentioned that. Some of them do this, they walk actually while pregnant. So you can imagine that. And apart from that, they have to carry that water, which is also heavy on them in that scenario. Then lastly, they have no, they normally face an impossible choice whereby they have only two choices. One of them to be, face death without water. Because when there is no water, then definitely the next thing is death. But another option that they have, an alternative, is face death while fetching the water. I've mentioned about long distance, then violence. As much as children are affected, women are also affected. Now, when they face violence, they are actually facing death while going to fetch water. If they don't go for the water, then they're also facing death. So they only have two options. Yeah. So most of the time they are left with with little or no time, even to work at home, or even to pursue other economic generating initiatives, or even if it comes to maybe a job and such like things, or even to pursue further education within their communities, and also to care for the family. So they are mostly affected. Now, these are mostly found within the slum areas, then also the remote areas, and especially within arid and semi-arid regions. And we also have the pastoralist communities, and quite a number of others. Thank you.
Thank you Thank you very much, Perkins, for that opening on who's affected and who's most vulnerable to this water scarcity issue. I'll move on to Adenike because I know that you deal with this, and this is your life's work, dealing with women and marginalized communities. Just building on Mr. Perkins' point, how can we ensure that not just any solutions, but circular economy solutions for water scarcity in Africa are inclusive and equitable, and they do not leave any communities behind. Also, they do not leave any of these people that, or any of these groups that Perkins has mentioned?
Thank you very much, Radia. So first, we need to look at the problem from a local perspective, because I feel like most of the solutions that often prefer are usually from looking at it from a global perspective. So we need to first look at the communities. What's the culture in that community? What are some of even the religious views in those communities? Even though they are not directly related, they are related. For instance, you're talking about gender roles, and in communities, especially in communities in Nigeria, in coastal regions in Nigeria, women are expected, like Mr. Perkins has talked about earlier, to go fetch water. And is even from some of our research, there's an average of women and young girls spend around 6 hours a day just collecting water, while men spend 2 hours a day. So, and this is kind of on a cultural side. So first of all, we need to first address that and see, like, working with the community members, the kings and the elders in the community, especially when you're looking at it from a rural perspective, and see what can be done to ease women of those cultural roles. Because even globally, it's been estimated about 200 million hours every day is spent collecting water by women. And this already is a colossal waste of time. So I think first thing that we need to do is identify the community, identify the culture, work with the people in that community too. We need to conduct a needs assessment, which is what I just talked about, just engaging people through meetings, through surveys. The United Nations, UNESCO, UNEP, they have a water program, a water alliance program, that is, I think it's called the Water Forum. And it's just getting people in different community and to engage and say, this is our problem, because the problem that is in this community might be different from the other community. So just trying to get people to engage and say, this is their problem. And it's co-designed by the community. So it's not like somebody's just coming to design for them. So they identify their problem and then they profile solutions to that problem. And so in doing that, they can come up with like community-based solutions to address those issues, to make sure that it's inclusive. And also not just looking at technology for the sake of technology. They can use like very, very simple methods that women, children, anyone can really understand in water conservation, like rainwater harvesting, for instance, or even ways they can treat their water. So, and a lot of programs have actually been very inclusive already. There are a lot of initiatives in Africa, for instance, like they have a program, a community-based rainwater harvesting program in Kenya. And what they're doing is they train local people, local community members to construct and maintain a rainwater harvesting system to improve access to clean water and for agriculture, for drinking, and for livestock. And also we have something called the water kiosk in Uganda. And what they do also is to train people in marginalized community on how to become local entrepreneurs and to be able to operate and maintain water kiosks, which can in turn provide affordable and safe water to local communities, while people are also making money in return doing that. And this will also ensure access to, reduce time collecting water, because there are water kiosks everywhere in the community, and also increase the economy opportunities for local entrepreneurs. There's another example in Ghana. It's called the Safe Water Network. And what they do, again, is to train people on how to maintain water treatment system. And they break down the very complex process of osmosis and break it down to that anyone can understand, regardless of your level of education, regardless of your gender, regardless of economic status, they can actually do it and treat the water themselves. And so there are a lot of examples that are community-led initiatives in different African countries. But I feel like then there might not be enough, and so we need to keep making sure that whatever solution we have is local. And by the time you make it local, then you can be more inclusive. And also to capacity building programs is also very, very important. And just getting not just women, everybody in the community, because I think everybody is a collaborative effort. As much as women and girls are they're more vulnerable to the effects of to the implications of water scarcity. Also, the men should be trained so that everybody can work together, and they need to be trained in the knowledge to participate in the circular economic initiatives, financial management, water management, entrepreneurship, and also maybe just talking to the stakeholders, that's NGOs, government agencies, and to see how they can leverage their resources and expertise to support circular economic initiatives. And also we also have to provide financial incentives, things like microfinance loans to marginalized communities, to maybe specifically gender loans for people to encourage them in circular economic initiatives and for them to adopt sustainable water management practices. This is seen in an example that was by how the Grameen Bank started. I think it was in India or Bangladesh, I'm not sure, by Professor Yunus, where he went back to his community and he gave loans to, it's kind of funny, he gave some loans to men to start businesses. And what he noticed was that men didn't really pay back the loan on time. So he gave the same loan to women, and women were paying back the loans on time. And what they found out was that when men get this loan to come up with business ideas to solve like local problems, what they do is by the time they make money, they take it out, they take their friends out to eat, to drink beer in the beer parlor, and they end up not paying back the loans. But when they give the same loan to women, women tend to make business out of it, tend to use that same money to support their family and still be economically, they are still very, very much independent in a way that they can take care of the family and their kids and send their kids to school. So yeah, for us to do that, just to summarize everything I've said, one, we need to look for local problems. We need to look at water governance reform. We need to incentivize circular economic practices so that people can actually get some kind of financial incentives from wanting to address issues that has to do with water. We need to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, and we need to strengthen our institutional capacity and also encourage private sector involvement, not just the government, but that everybody has a role to play to make it more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insightful discussion. You touched a bit on involving the community as much, like it's a community-based problem and everybody should be involved. And I think a few of our case studies, for example, I think Lou Afrique started from identifying a problem in the community and making that into a solution. I would like to, I think, hand over the floor to Henry, because Henry, I think you do work with different communities in your program. Could you please elaborate on what is it that you have been doing with a practical example of working with the community? So please share with us what you have been doing in your community and how it has improved the issue of water scarcity from your perspective.
Thank you again, Radia. My name, like Radia said again, I'm Henry, and I'm founder of Tusafishe. We install water purification systems for refugee camps and rural schools here in Uganda. But we also train women in our technology so that they can install smaller versions of the same system to use in their houses. Some sell these systems to make an income for themselves, and some sell the water that they purify through the system to make an income for themselves. But what is more interesting is how we localized the whole technology. We know that Africa as a whole, we only contribute 3.8 to global green gas emission. And 2/3 of that comes from forest degradation and deforestation. So we wanted to find a solution that would help communities to look at all the issues that come with climate change. And one of it is using of firewood as a solid fuel in boiling of water to purify water. And we were looking at big communities like schools that will need plenty of water. If they boiled water, the effect on the environment would be gross. So we found out a solution. I traveled to India on a learning journey just to learn from the wisdom of the old people on how they were purifying water. And when I came back from India, I started working with 2 professors from the US and engineering students from here in Uganda. And we built the technology. So now we involve the whole community when we go to install water purification. And our aim is really to change the tradition. Instead of cutting trees to purify water, we want people to plant trees to purify water, because we use the components in moringa trees. They need then to plant these moringa trees to purify their water. And that is briefly what we are doing. They are able to purify water, including surface water, using our technology to help deal with the problem of scarcity of water.
Thank you very much. I'm sure if there'll be time at the end of this session, you might be able to elaborate more on this. I'm very sure there are questions on exactly how you're doing this, and probably if there's writing we can refer to on this particular solution. I would like to move to Romuald. Henry has talked about the purification of water, and your background is civil engineering. How have you been able to use this background in civil engineering to work with your communities, right? Work with your communities and the people around you in terms of water sanitation. But I would also like to go back to something important that Dr. Denike mentioned, funding and money. What practical initiatives have you worked on to create socio-economic impact and jobs within communities in Africa? You are on mute. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Water in Burkina Faso is used in 2 areas: agricultural consumption and industry. In practice I have worked on is for within communities is through the realization of a large number of solar boreholes for market field, which today we have more than 1 million displaced persons. I also made a borehole and emergency latrine for the sanitation for youth to facilitate a job with my organization. We work to provide short-term professional training on waste-related job with specialization in collection, sorting, and later recycling, which can enable small business creation. As we follow the call, we have the training in ecological, charcoal, and organical manner. We have we proposed also the sustainable agriculture, the soilless agriculture. That is a innovative method as a solution to help the internally displaced people that is today used to train these internally displaced people have land for agriculture. So less to use water.
Romuald, sorry to cut you short, but we're struggling a little bit to hear you. Maybe cutting your video might improve the sound and the connection.
Yes.
Mhm.
In practical initiative I have worked on is, do you hear me good?
It's much better, yes, but the internet is a bit, it's still lagging. So maybe. Yeah.
Practical initiative I have worked on is for profit and non-profit work to create socio-economic impact and job within communities throughout the realization of a large number of solar boreholes, throughout the realization of solar boreholes for market gardening activities in the humanitarian field, which today we have more than 1 million internally displaced people. I helped to make boreholes and emergency latrines for the sanitation for youth to facilitate the creation of circular jobs with my network, my organization. We work to provide short-term professional training on waste-related job with specialization in collection, sorting, and later recycling, which can enable small business creation as we follow the progress later. An example, we have a training in ecological shuttle, the organic manner, and now and shortly we have proposed also a sustainable agriculture solution, the soil-less agriculture as a solution to help the internally displaced people that is now used for the training for internally displaced people who no longer have arable land for agriculture. Soil-less agriculture use water efficiency and give a good production. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We did struggle to follow a little bit. So if you're able to, please share some of your work and everything that you've been sharing in the chat, so people are also able to, so that the audience is able to follow and ask some questions based on your work. I would like to then, I think I'm going to maybe save Rory and Odak and their entrepreneurship perspective on this problem for towards the end. I would like to speak to Ewube. We have been talking about women and the people that are, or the stakeholders that are affected by water scarcity. But I know through your work, you have identified other sectors apart from the ones we've been talking about, other sectors and how they're influenced by water. So I would like to ask you to elaborate on which are these sectors that are affected by water scarcity. And I think maybe also elaborate a little bit on the youth. We've been talking about women and children, but how are the youth also affected by water scarcity based on your line of work?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I believe my background is not that noisy, or I'm a little bit stable now. Thank you very much. So I'm going to elaborate a little, just as you said, so that we try and respect the time, about water and how much other sectors have been affected. We have sectors such as tourism, we have industry, we have agriculture, most especially knowing that it is bone of Africa's economy, especially in the Central African regions, where most activities are centered around agriculture. So water is a key element, a very key component, but today it is really being misused. Why? Because of so many reasons. And we notice that we notice that government policies are being written on paper, but they are not strictly implemented. And it takes a whole toll on water. Now, if we get to, for example, the industrial sector, we have most of the high level investments are made by, maybe, let me say, foreigners. We have Chinese companies that are operating in countries like Cameroon, and they are using water in large quantities. But we notice that some of these investments are not by law supposed to be in certain areas. Why? Because of quality and the quantity of water available, so much that if they are located in such areas, it can over time affect the community in one way or the other. But because of the kind of countries we come from, especially in Central Africa, we can say more of some kind of corruption or bribery. I'm speaking from that point because situation, and we see that due to breaches in policy governments as far as the water sector is concerned. And this goes a long way. By the time the wrong investment is made in the wrong location and at the wrong time, it goes a long way to affect the entire community. And then we start talking about crises, shortages, and surpluses. Also, if we want to look at water from agriculture, we cannot say, because now water is being transferred to long distances just so that we can do some kind of adaptation, irrigated agricultural methods so that other communities can feed. But now, let's talk about this problem in detail, because if nothing is being done, then there is nowhere. Like, we have many of these things written in paper that we cannot follow. And now, if you're leading and you're not leading by example, who then do you want to follow you? We have the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, like in the case of Cameroon. They have places where they say subsistence agriculture should not be carried out. But you see people doing that, and nobody can stand up to say, no, can you go into this other kind of agriculture which is favorable to this climate, is favorable to this environment, given the quantity of water that is available. Briefly, let's talk about community and youth most especially. There are situations where I can say Africa is losing its community basis. Why? Because as Africans, we used to live in communities where we can knock at a neighbor's door and beg for water at any time of the night. But as the way the world is evolving today, we see that everybody is living a private life. As long as I have my money, I can sustain myself, I should live in my friend's house. We don't see the impact it has on the water sector. How can you have 3 households within 100 meters away having 5 or 3 boreholes separate at the same capacity? How far has that aquifer that supplies the water around that area, how far has it been analyzed to make sure that those households, that aquifer can feed those 3 boreholes in the next 10 to 15 years? These are the impacts we have. Very soon you start seeing conflict, because one person will say, it's because I dug my borehole before you, and now yours have come, it has made mine to go dry in the next 2 to 3 years. And now there is chaos. But if you was struck the borehole of this great capacity to have us, or that is the African community we used to know. And some parts we are advocating for this ideology, and where we'll have community water systems so that adaptation will be more flexible for communities as well as youth. So many innovations are coming up amongst youth that we need water in quality and in quantity for it to strive. If not, we are failing. And now some of the remarkable innovations that youth are doing, the water data bank, they are one at the Graduate Institute of Data, like to know what kind of investments and store it in a data bank. We disseminate it to the government and policy makers so that they can design programs that will fit what context and also guide investments. You cannot bring a fishery company, a fishing company, and you locate it where we have less than 30% of great aquifers supplying water in that area. So those are a few of such innovations that the youth are coming up with, and we need the cooperation of all. I would like to end here, and if there are any questions that are tied to what I've said, I'll be ready to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Although we were losing you a little bit in the discussion, I'm very sure that the audience has picked out, first of all, what the problems are, but some of the practical solutions that you have shared. And I would like to bring this back to the panel, and this is for everyone, maybe in less than a minute, from your perspective, share what are some of the practical solutions that we can take as Africa to tackle this problem and all these challenges that we've been highlighting. So I'll go in no particular order based on who's on my screen. I think Adenike, you are first. Yeah, if you can share just in less than a minute, what do we need to be doing? Where do we need to be looking? Who do we need to be talking to move from challenges to solutions? Thank you.
Yes, I think one thing we need to do is even maybe stop talking and just start implementing things, because like the panelists that just finished talked about like how most of our policies are not implemented, but we have it on paper. So we need to, and for instance, the African Development Bank says about just 13% of African countries have water and governance policy and regulations that are considered excellent. So that's pretty low. So I think right now, we as individuals and entrepreneurs need to start doing providing different solutions in various communities. I feel that waiting on the government and other stakeholders to tackle some of these issues might take forever. So what that we can do is to access different kind of maybe grants sometimes, or maybe small interest loan, or just start some kind of businesses in our communities that can help tackle the issue of water scarcity. And everybody's doing their own part from different communities, and I think that will create a ripple effect. It might not be a lot in the grand scheme of things, but if we're just doing our own part, educating people, whether if you're in the education space, educating people about it, if you're in the entrepreneurship space, providing solutions like we've seen from the case studies from the beginning of this workshop, and just doing our whole part really, and to just be the change that we want to see in our community. I think that will be the first start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will move to Rory and then Odak, because you brought the entrepreneurship side, so the solution base or the solution perspective of all of this. What do we need to be doing? I'll ask the same question. What do we need to be doing? Who do we need to be talking to? How can we move from just talking to doing?
Well, I think from our perspective is, please get in touch with us. We have the solutions. But in all honesty, I think for where we are, we need innovative solutions. We need to give innovation a chance, and it starts here. At this platform, it starts here. The risk must be taken, and we are the people offering the solutions. Myself and Odak and many others in the platform, I think we have the solutions to combat this. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to concur with Rory that actually is saying is on spot on, because I mean there are some solutions that we might overlook. Things like, I mean, if you go to schools, for example, they say, oh look, it's a very dry season, we don't have water. You look at their roof, you look at a huge massive roof and say, why don't you just collect this water, and then in dry season we have this water, we have collected them. So that would be the first source of water security. And for example, I mean, look at the water quality. I mean, people also don't, people say that Africa, people don't want to invest in water ideas in Africa or in innovations, because people are asking, where's the good revenue going to come from? I think if you want to offer that, we should also look at the quality of the kind of water we're offering to communities. They will pay for it, but you just don't put a payment system to a water which is not really, checked, because people then they'll pray and then go and get the other water. I think most important thing is also we need to support each other and to really understand our problem and how we're going to have a solution. We cannot keep on saying like girls are dropping out of school in order to go and fetch water during dry season. Why don't the school become the water source? Why don't we bring digging the bowl in the water so that they drop in school? So with one stone, we get two birds flying, not just one dropping out of school. So I think there's so many solutions, and we have to really look and very deep within ourselves and see what we can do even without the funding. And I think if we get that one right, the funding will automatically come our way. And I think that's the way to go. And also use the technology, but we keep it only on communication. We can also use it for product. And I can see, Rory, we're on the same page on this. And I think we need to really look at each other from south to north to central. And I think we're just in to go. Thank you.
Thank you. I like the talk of cross collaboration across regions. I think sometimes we tend to work in silos on these social issues. It would be important to learn from each other. Perkins and Henry and Romo, also in less than a minute, because we're going into our Q&A session. From your perspective, what do we need to be doing? I think I would like to hear also from a financial perspective, what it is that we need to be doing to move along from this problem. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I can begin. So mine will not be from a financial perspective. I think one of the key aspects or approaches that we need to put in place are coming up with policies or legislation, and even review the existing one, so that they can actually promote the development of transboundary strategies and solutions that promote circular economy of water. This is because you find that in Africa, most of the countries that experience water scarcity, you will find that the same problem is recurring year in, year out. Let me give an example of communities that suffer from drought. And when it comes to rain season, they're also suffering from floods. And this has been coming year in, year out. So I think we need policies and laws that can actually promote development and strategies that can promote circular economy of water. Then also, I think and I believe that exploiting collaborations from different entities, beginning with the governments, and these should actually be focused on different ministries that in one way or the other are aligned to water use. We have irrigation, water, natural resource ministries, and so forth and so forth. These need to be integrated together, and a good coordination from each ministry to another, as well as all the entities that can be brought on board, so that solutions can be brought that actually target the people on the ground. So when we have all these, then definitely we'll curb the recurring problems that we have for water scarcity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Henry, oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah. I don't want to differ from the first people. We need to do. The thing is, we need to go and do. We need to start. And I think that the magic could also be in just mobilizing the communities and empowering the communities. Most people want to just go out there and make money from the communities, but the communities have the resources. They just need someone to help them mobilize and direct these resources in places that they need, where they have their challenges. So I think that is very important for us to mobilize the communities, even the money that we are looking for from whosoever we are looking for, we can find that money in the communities if we mobilize those communities and get them working. But the other part is really to empower them even to do these things. For example, what we are doing with Tusafishe is that we empower the communities. Most of the communities are like 6 hours away from where we are, and we cannot keep moving forth and back. So we empower, we leave this community when they can do these things on their own. The other thing that is very important, I heard from Odak, and he said that we need to work together. And that is very important. We need to work together. For example, if I'm looking for a payment system, I know that I can find someone who has a technology that is doing this. If I need treatment technology, there is someone who has that. So we put this together and then we provide the solutions to the problems that are in these communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Working with the communities, I think, is something that should be taken away from this discussion. It's very easy to create a solution that doesn't actually help the people that need it. I think to close us off in this particular discussion before we go into the Q&A, I don't know if you're still there, Romuald, just to take us through what are some of the things we need to be doing, who do we need to be talking to, and how do we do what we should be doing?
Yes, thank you. I want to talk about water feature. Firstly, a big solution is to make circular economy in water sector known, make people know what interest circular economy can give them, and circular economy give by its principle a more efficiency management of water while allowing the generation of natural resources. By 2050, the population of the world is set to increase to double. For an increase in need that we will not be able to satisfy. If we use linear circular economy in water, if you use a circular economy, it can, by its principle, we can have more efficiency management of water while allowing the regeneration of natural resources. So we need to use innovation to create industries that will allow the transformation of wastewater into drinking water to allow to keep the water already used in circulation in order to limit the waste and over exploitation of surface and underground water, which will create a balance which will help nature to have time to regenerate, to recharge. In conclusion, we need a global water roadmap that includes circular economy for the future of water. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. It seems innovation and collaboration is the name of the game. From what I've been hearing from our different panelists, I'm very, very excited to go into this next session where we have different questions for the different presentations. Please, if you have any more questions, please feel free to post them in the chat and we will get to them. Some of the questions, and not surprisingly, are for our two entrepreneurs. So the first question is for you, Odak. rather for you, Rory, what is your plan for expansion to other African countries? Yes.
Yes. So our view has been that we are really trying to target navigation through the embassies that we have as a close link to in-country stabilization. That's one. And secondly, I think to make connections and networks on such a platform where we can really bring our units across to other countries. That is one. We're currently operating on a model of supply and demand, catering for the SADC region, and this is based on per order basis and per order status. We are supplying Zimbabwe. I can say the whole of SADC, Lesotho, Botswana, and so forth. That's currently where we are, and we are aiming to exploit that market and equally have a lot of appetite and interest into the East and West Africa.
Thank you very much. Rory, there are a few questions here for you as well, but I'll move back to Odak. So how is the water recharge measured? That's the question. How is the water recharge measured?
Yes, like I said, I already replied it on the chat. Like I said, we do work with the regenerative organization that really do, like, we have like different people bringing different knowledges. So because one of the things that we believe, like what you also hear here, like collaboration is actually the key. So we do work with an organization called Renature, in which one of the things they've done is also to involve the farmers or the community living around there who are doing farming, also to really teach, really do a lot of practical learnings about how to do like proper farming, like good practices in terms of farming, like really looking at the soil quality and also the kind of farming they do that retain the water, and also really train them really like to see how do you see different soils and how you use the different soils, how they retain water and how they beyond that, we also create a model farm just to train them so that they really understand how the regenerative agriculture helps in understanding the whole water management source. But also what is also written there, how do we use the water purification? Because that is another part. That part is what we do is we use currently we use nanofiltration, which is basically decantation. So we don't use reverse osmosis, which needs a lot of water to really have small amount of water for drinking. But what we rejected water that we use, we kind of use also natural filtration so that they can go back into the farm. So we kind of recycle this water that no water is not used. So what we do is when we do purification, we have drinking water, which is like, why don't people just take amount of water that they use to drink? And then we also have our machine kind of produces three kind of water. So we actually the three processes. So what is rejected is what we again recycle back into the whole ecosystem. So what happens is we try that through farming, through having the whole, we don't only look at the water management, but the water resource management, so that at one point we do have this water. So we look at another helicopter perspective. But what happens is, like I said, why would you use drinking water to flush a toilet? Those kind of questions. So education is also a very big part of how we look at the whole regenerative and the whole perspective. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So going back to Rory, I'll ask these questions together and hopefully you can answer them. The first one is, where are your 25,000 toilets installed? I think this will answer the question that they're asking because they would like to see them. And are your toilets wheelchair accessible? And then do you have a central point of manufacturing? And lastly, what's your supply chain? So if we can answer those in one sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was just making notes quickly. Okay. So installation. So the 25,000 element that I highlighted is the pool of schools in South Africa. Currently, we have distributed over 1,000 units of our products throughout the country. So contractors will get the schools, and then we supply the units. So current unit distribution is 1,000, not 25,000. We are looking to go to 25,000. Wheelchair accessibility, I would assume that our units are wheelchair accessible as we try to develop them jointly with the South African Bureau of Standards in meeting those sanitation metrics. However, we are yet to do a full installation in a wheelchair toilet. I think that is something for us to consider on this pilot. We'll look into that. With regards to central manufacturing, yes, we manufacture in South Africa and Pretoria, and currently follow a distribution channel in two aspects. One, within the South African market, we are working with the MICA stores, whereby we manufacture and distribute to them directly and then off-sell to the commercial market. The other element is that we are looking for distributors or that can represent the country, the product Luafric, or even buy the product and resell in other markets. So there is those are the two current channels that we are operating with.
Thank you, Rory. And very, very quickly, Henry, because I would like to now open up the discussion for the panelists either to ask each other questions or if somebody would like to speak. Someone is asking, how is the moringa tree used for purifying water? I know you spoke about this earlier, but maybe if you could re-elaborate on this.
Most of us probably already know that moringa has very many benefits. And in Africa, moringa tree is locally referred as to the miracle tree because of its nutritional benefits and its medicinal benefits. But also moringa seeds contain elements that can purify water. There is a protein within the seeds that can be used both for purification, like to neutralize the microorganisms in the water, but also to moringa seed, the protein is used to purify the water. It is the protein that comes from the seeds, but it is also got from the seed cake. It is after moringa oil has been squeezed out of the seed, and then you get the protein from the seed cake. Now the seed cake is combined with granite, and the protein from the moringa seed charges the granite, and it is the granite now then that destroys the microorganisms that will destroy water. It will destroy the disease-causing pathogens in the water.
All right. Thank you very much. That's interesting. I've never heard of that before, so something to learn for myself as well. I would now like to open the discussion for either the panelists, or if there's somebody that has a thought that they would like to contribute. I think maybe to also lead the discussion, there was something that somebody asked: how do we on this Zoom platform create momentum, an online knowledge base, a success story, and a marketplace to grow the circle of knowledge, skills, innovation, and funding from this forum? I think this could be a leading thought for the open discussion. So yes, you're welcome to unmute your mic if you'd like to speak. Odak, would you like to open the discussion, the open discussion for us on how we can continue this momentum, grow an online knowledge base, but as well as anything else that you picked up as we were discussing and you would like to ask either panelist or somebody in the audience?
I think I'm very delighted to see the network among the team that have also the knowledge that is being shared here, and also knowledge that sometimes I take for granted. I mean, I had a lot of one of the things that really knocked me also is the daily things. Like there was a time that you were talking about. How many times we waste a lot of money looking for water when I think I cannot remember her name very well. She talked about the distance women we take it even for granted that it's women who go get water, and how much that is, and then men only ask to shower. I mean, that's another story. But I think how much hours we waste in terms of these are the reason why Africa, we need to really look at how much money, if we put it in money terms, how much money we waste by just looking for water. I mean, if you translate it, that is, it comes into billions of dollars. And how can we really look at every aspect? But also, Perkins talks about a very interesting security, how water not only, how it offers also security to the vulnerable, how somebody, I mean, I also see this in Kenya, how people exchange even sex for water, which is a very sad situation to our own self, thinking about that somebody is having issue just to get that water. So I think, and also the take for me is how do, actually on the cycle, how do we look at water in terms of resource? You cannot just provide that clean water without knowing where does it come from, how is it going to be sustained, what are the parameters of what we have, and I mean the changing global times. Some ideas here are very, and I think they've almost come to a conclusion that we should really look at working together, but above all, look at the water security. I mean, these are things that are coming in, and also eventually the question will be, how will we look at the investment on the water side? But I think quality will come. A lot of things put together will also. So I think in this case we're on the right direction, and we should keep this conversation going and also bring in next time this conversation also people who were able to fund this, so that people are also, then they hear the real issue also. So we try to bring different stakeholders, let me say, bring different stakeholders and have them join us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see that Henriette's hand is up. Yeah, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
Very clearly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It was a very interesting discussion, and it's nice to see how many people are linked into this specific discussion on circular economy. My recommendation is that maybe in future we can come to this kind of discussion with circular economy solutions. And probably the collaborations that we require. You know, there's a reiteration of what the challenges are and who needs it most and who needs to collect the water and who needs to shower. That doesn't matter anymore. We know that it's republished a million times, but we have to get to a point where we can provide a solution to not only South Africa or sub-Saharan Africa, but to the countries who are desperately in need at the moment. And given water is not a given, the fact that you can collect water means that there should be water, or that water is available. And that is not a given. So whatever we do and however we approach this, is that we need to look at the worst scenarios that we can think of, like in the case of South Africa, where we don't have electricity. So we don't have electricity to pump water to water towers so that that water can come down to households. And then we can flush or bath or anything. So electricity is one of those key points that we also take for granted. Water in, I think Kenya at the moment has huge droughts, and there's no water, you know, whether you have an infrastructure or not. You don't have water available, but what do you do with whatever you have? And after COVID, we also realized that we need hand washing is really important. It's part of hygiene, it's part of health, it's part of development. So we need to focus on, in a circular economy, sanitation, on grey water harvesting or rainwater harvesting. We need to look at what is the best waste management solution that contribute to, or that can contribute to, future growth, employment and development, and food security. So those are the things we need to decide, what is the circular economy we want to embrace and what we can contribute to that from various levels of expertise. I'm not an innovator. Well, I'm an innovator. I'm not an entrepreneur. So for me, it's really important to provide whatever I have innovated to a system that can use it and can also contribute not only to my own country, but also to sub-Saharan Africa. Remember, we will not have water. Our next tipping point is 2025 with no water in sub-Saharan Africa, where the use will be more than what we can supply. And we are still talking and we are still stating the obvious. We haven't found a solution yet. So that is my takeaway on this. And thank you for your time and thank you for this platform. I really appreciate it.
And we really appreciate your insights. Thank you so much. I would be interested to have a separate conversation, I think, with you after this webinar. But now I see that Sharon's hand is up. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I am glad to be part of this conversation. I'm from Kenya and I have a question. I'm not too sure if maybe someone has a solution for it in their country or maybe it's in Kenya, but I figured it's best to ask, better out than in. We have this problem of when it rains, we get clogged drainages and it gets so bad. The water is like the ground gets flooded throughout and you cannot pass. It's just really hectic. And I was wondering if there is a way to harness this rainwater or to just find a way to like place it somewhere else that would be more useful, because we also have issues of harvesting water. So how can we be able to use that excess water that is seen as a waste so that it can come and later help the society or the community at large to avoid these issues of lack of water and so on and so forth? So if there's some country out there that has some type of solution, or if maybe we do have it and we are not aware of it, I really would like to just hear someone's opinion on the same. Thank you.
Thank you. That is a very good question. And I think it's a problem everywhere, or at least here in Zambia, it's a problem. So I heard earlier someone speaking on water harvesting. Yes.
What we do mostly in some areas where we are confronted with that, we've always said, like, I mean, one time you have water in excess, another time you have it completely nothing. And I think you have to be normally what we have done before with those kind of areas. You have to look at, you want also the spring to continue. You don't want that, because that spring is also a connection to an ecosystem somewhere. So by finding a way that the water will not continue moving, you're actually destroying an ecosystem somewhere. So what we do normally I'm just taking my example, what we have done with such areas, we're supposed to look at what is the community desire. For example, even at one point that spring sometimes goes down. So what we have created in our own community is come up with ponds, like dams, where we store excess water. So then they don't move very fast during rainy season or during dry season. So this kind of dams or fish pond, so people even put fish in them. So it get other meaning rather than just water, because then at one point this water, they flow very slowly into the soil. So then, but also this water, it has to still get that passage, but also doing like agroforestry, water which are, you don't have to plant trees, which will kill the spring. So we try to really look at best for agricultural like regenerative practices that keep the place also, because it's connected to wetland. So there's a lot of things that, I mean, at the end, that water can be, like when you talk about purification, that is a source of water that you could even sell to it can become an economic activity for that kind of area in future. So there's so much that can be, instead of looking at this as a menace, there's so way, I mean, one of the things is just use the regenerative, the dam, to really create and look beyond just drinking, but for the cows to use, because if you have this water stored in ponds, it takes time to go, and it can make the place very agricultural potential. And like that, there's so many uses of water than just seeing the menace of it. But if you don't also do something around it, it can come back to harm you.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak to Sharon's particular question. Is there anything you're doing in your context that addresses that particular problem? If not, and if there are no more questions and contributions, I will leave the floor open for one more question or contribution. Any questions to any panelists that you have thought of that you would like to ask? Okay, I'm checking in the chat. I don't see any. If not, then I would like to, first of all, thank you all for staying on as long as you have, but for also sharing these meaningful contributions. A webinar like this or a platform like this is always a learning platform for me. So I enjoy being here with all the different experts that we have online. Hopefully the next time we meet, as Henriette has mentioned, we will be speaking about practical solutions that we have identified collectively, but also that we have been sharing on the online platform that we will hopefully create after this session. I would now like to hand back over to Jocelyn to take us through what is expected and to close out the program for us. I've been your moderator for this afternoon. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Radia, and thank you for your excellent moderating. We want to thank all the participants today. Thank you to all those who were able to stay through. We know it's you've been online for almost 2 hours, and it's not easy to stay focused on your screen for that long. So we thank you for sharing and for learning with us. As Radia mentioned, this is the beginning of a series of workshops, and then we want to also thank our panelists. Thank you for your time, the time you took to prepare this session with us. We hope you've been able to network as much as possible, and that you can continue this conversation offline with any of the panelists. Make sure you are able to capitalize and expand your network in the water sector. And then we also wanted to stress the fact that although we are talking about circular economy water solutions for Africa, we still need to talk about inclusion. And when we talk about inclusion, we still need to stress the fact that women and youth are the ones who are most impacted by scarcity, because this is going to influence the policies, it's going to influence innovation, to make sure that the policy and the innovations that are coming up in the circular economy water sector are inclusive and takes into account the peculiarity of women and youth. So thank you again. Stay connected. Go through our website. You can join our network and become part of the African Circular Economy Network. Until now, see you for the next workshop. Thank you.